This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 484, recorded on March 25th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios. Here, Mike, what I think, like, it's been gray. I mean, maybe one sunshiny day over the last week or two. The rain gauge picked up like 2.5 inches of rain. The first storm, another inch the other day. Your lawn's got to look pretty good, though, right? I mean, is it greening up pretty well?
It's greening up, but the true test for me is I can be on a half-hour conference call and my sump pump right here next to me goes off at least 3 times during that time. All the water just soaks down. My sump pumps run like crazy during any rain. Yeah. You can tell the former owner had to do the whole Thrasher water treatment because we have 2 sump pumps now and they just go like crazy. So I have to ride the mute button now as I'm working down here. You might actually even hear it during the show.
No, that's okay.
Because they go off all the time. That's a sign of a lot of water.
When we moved in here, the first couple years, this corner over here not flooded, but got water in it a couple times, and we had a little water damage. And I realized the downspout was not pointing in the right direction, and the neighbor's downspout was coming my direction. And I was like, okay, we're going to stop this. So I built a little retaining wall for them. So now that it goes down, and actually over the last decade, it's kind of washed out. There's like
really?
Oh yeah, because they get a lot of water off that side of the house, and then redirected mine to go down the sidewalk. And the sump pump broke at some point, and I checked it. I don't know. Last year I went to check it. It's broken, and it doesn't look like that thing's had water in 15 years. Like it's bone dry.
Weird.
Yeah. Just moving that, just getting
that much of a difference.
It did. Yeah, it did. So, that's one of those. It's spring here in the United States and in the Northern Hemisphere. And of course, lots of rain coming in. Mike, it is my favorite time of the year. I did do some landscaping this week. I'm starting to take grass away. So I moved some landscaping out to just kind
less mowing.
Little bits at a time, just, I don't know. I got to battle the moles. If you've been listening to the show very long, you know what I'm talking about. So we'll have a long, I'm not, my water bill doubled at the end of the summer, and the grass didn't look that much better. And I was like, I'm going to let nature take its course. Of course, we will post the show notes at theaverageguy.tv. This one, HGG484. Couple reminders before we get started. One, thanks. A whole bunch of you guys have joined Mike and I on Coinbase. And still an opportunity to do that. If you go over to theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase, sign up, and your first deposit or trade of $100 or more, you get 10. I get 10. Not a bad deal. We always say it's good for a good education. Mike, I was reading the news on my phone today, and they're like, Bitcoin slides, and I go, really?
You always chuckle. It's like that's not a slide.
It's like there's down to 51, and I'm like, okay, when it goes to 30 or maybe 20,
when it goes to 2 like it did last time, let me know.
Yeah, you're kind of like, so if you watch news and you watch what's going on with crypto, it's just ridiculous. You can tell that the news is not being written by people who have been in the crypto market very long. I mean, they kept, hey, Rip Van Winkle, they kind of woke up when Bitcoin was like 57 and they thought that was the low, and then 60. Oh no, it's sliding backwards, right? So listen, if you've been listening to this show any length of time, we've been talking about this a long time. Mike, the very first time we had Edward on, 264. Crazy, right?
Absolutely crazy. I saw this hilarious picture, and it was someone on Twitter, and they said, my buddy just sent me this screenshot of it was essentially the awards they gave for the top 5 places for a StarCraft tournament 10 years ago, right? So 2011.
Yeah.
First place was like $500, $200, $300, $200. Fifth place, all they got was 25 Bitcoin. That's it. And everyone's like, man, would have loved to take 5th place in that StarCraft tournament. You know, I think it's like,
Right
what was that,
on.
$1.4 million they would have right
Yeah.
now if they
Yeah.
kept that 25 Bitcoin.
In
But,
the
this is
day,
one of those times too where my brother-in-law, he's actually in the chat, it's Parker. So when he got his new graphics card, he got a 30 series card. He asked about mining, and it was something, Jim, you and I haven't looked at mining in years because it hasn't been profitable on GPUs.
right.
And all of a sudden we looked into it, and good thing he asked, because right now it is profitable on the GPUs. And the funny part about it is
certain GPUs, like
yeah,
the
you have
ones
to
I
have
have. No,
at least a 6 gig or above in RAM on your GPU. If you have below that, yeah, you can't do it. But
not really worth it.
long story short is I'm kind of cheering on the slides right now because with NiceHash, the way it works, it's about the same dollar wise you're getting per day, and the lower it is means I'm actually if it goes back up, you're making a little more. So like I average $4 to $5, and that's usually no matter what the price is. It slips a little bit, but not much. And so it's actually better when you're mining in the short term for these things to kind of fall a little bit if you're using something like NiceHash. So it's I'm back in, Jim. I'm watching the prices every day now. It's funny how just one little thing like mining again gets me watching those prices. I even have, it's kind of cool on the new iOS, you can actually have a tile on your homepage for NiceHash for the app, and it's a constant what your daily average is for how much money you're making. So I can constantly just unlock my phone and see it. It's nice.
Yeah, NiceHash paid me back for that hack, that 2018 hack, right?
Yeah.
And as they were paying me back when Bitcoin was low, it was like $3 or $4. And now, I went and checked the other day and it was like, I don't know, it's 50, 60, 75 bucks, something like that. And you're like, whoa, that got to be a little coin. I should probably move it. And then I'm like, nah, I'm just going to leave it on NiceHash for a while, just see how things go over here. So if you want to join us on Coinbase, theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase, big thanks to everybody who's done that and taken advantage. Again, use it as an educational opportunity. The Coinbase app is really good at just being able to go in there and learn. So I think there's $30 or $40 worth of things, of videos you can watch, get free coin if you want to do it that way. First $100 purchase or trade get you an extra $10 as well. Big thanks also to our Patreon subscribers, Brian, Tim. I thought I took that V out of there, Tim. Sorry. Ed, Aaron. I thought I'd done that like twice. Joe, Jim, Ross, Andy, John, Ed, Ryan, Justin, the other John, Brian, the other Brian with a Y, Dwayne, Nathaniel, and Paul. Thanks for you guys, all that you do. Support us on Patreon. We appreciate that as well. Mike, I mentioned the Tesla meetup or a Tesla roundtable show, and I just haven't got around to it. So a couple of you contacted me. I know a couple of you want to be on there. I think probably after next week. So no live show next week, which is Easter weekend, the weekend before Easter. I'll be traveling down to Texas for a family event, kind of a quick down there and back. And so no live show next Thursday, but I'll get that planned. We'll get going with that. No update from my end on a Tesla. I don't think I'm going to hear anything till the fall at the very earliest. Big thanks to Raz from Flowwater, who joined us last week. A very interesting interview. If you didn't catch it, might you think about your water during the week? Did you catch yourself like thinking, I wonder how much plastic is in this water?
A little bit, especially for those next 2 days, because it was honestly, it was a very interesting show for me because it's not something I've ever thought of, put much, thought into, and so it was very interesting to hear that point of view on everything.
I want one of those. All I could think about is I want one of those big standing water filler things in my house.
It makes me, same thing. Anything that can fill up a tall glass or a water bottle quickly with clean water. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. So big thanks to Raz Flowwater. If you want to check them out, Hydrate 20 was the, in fact, I think I still have that up. Let's go. Yeah, there we go. If you do Hydrate 20 at drinkflowwaterathome.com, you can get 20% off any of the products that are there.
And Flow Water is only one W in there. FLO water, just so you guys know when you're singing.
Yeah, and I didn't get any takers last week on the these are the faucet attachments, right? So this can go on the end of your faucet and you can filter it through it. I'm giving these away. I got 2 of them. I'd kind of like it for somebody who's worried about the quality. Maybe they're on a well or one of those kinds of things, and you wanted to try something out to see if it would be better. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. I got 2 of them. Love to get them in the mail to you. U.S. only, unfortunately, because it's just a nightmare to ship them outside the United States. But I'd love to give those away and get those to you and get a little feedback on them as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Mac saga, Mike. You know a little bit. The Mac came 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. And I've had some monitor problems, and then I didn't, and then I did, and it's kind of gone back and forth. And the monitor problems are when I hit the space bar to wake it up in the morning. Sometimes one monitor comes on. Sometimes I get that gray snow effect in it. Sometimes one of the monitors never comes back on. I can unplug it. I called support and they said, this is weird. We were texting and I said, hey, it's not working. And we go through a bunch of things. I said, have you tried a different monitor? I said, no, I haven't done that yet. They cut me off. Like they're like, support was done. At that point, I was like, now, okay, listen, I don't think they were, I think it was a
Accidental.
fluke. I think it was a fluke.
Yeah.
But I did get thinking, okay, I do have a couple extra monitors to give this a try. Well, last Sunday, I was smoking a candle with Ed Sullivan, and he said, we were talking about, I was doing a whole bunch of video editing, and I was telling him how I hate iMovie because the slider on the bottom, it doesn't automatically advance as you're editing. Like, so as you're playing it, it goes down and then it just disappears. And you gotta,
right.
yeah, you gotta. And Ed said, because he's got a big 5K Mac monitor, Ed does. He goes, man, iMovie on an ultra wide is awesome because you get all that real estate for it. And I went, wait a minute, I have an ultra wide. Why don't I put the ultra wide on the Mac and take the two monitors? They're older monitors, they're older, 20, they're 24-inch 1080p's that are on a stand. Move those over to my work side. So on a Monday between meetings, I had an hour. I was like, okay, I got to get this done. So I swapped the monitors out, and I'm kind of like, why didn't I think of this before?
And it's working well.
Well, I got a Mac on a single screen. Okay, one, there isn't a way to snap like on a Mac. I can't snap like on Windows. You can snap a window to one side and snap it to the other. Can't do that on Mac, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure there's an app for
there's like there's apps and there's hot corners and stuff like that. I know you can set up, but I don't. The
$49.99.
Right.
Thanks for the app. Thanks for that Apple tax. And so it didn't like having as much real estate in one screen as possible is really a better Mac experience, at least what I'm finding. If you hold down Control and the arrow key, you also get those three other screens that you can load like remote desktop to, right?
Right.
Some of those kinds of things. And so I moved it over to the ultra wide. It's incredible. Like I was like, why didn't I think of this to begin with? And now I haven't edited anything yet, and I'll get a chance to do that this weekend. But then I moved the dual screens over to the Windows side of things, and Windows is just better on like when you think about multi-screen and 1080p. Yeah, Windows is better on.
Agreed.
Windows on an ultra wide doesn't really, even though you can snap it, it doesn't really even work right. Like the dimensions aren't right. You're not getting a full, like watching YouTube videos on it. Not great. It's so much better. Windows is so much better on just a standard 1080p monitor.
And even a Mac on multiple monitors it doesn't work great, right? Like I know when I have my laptop down here, I'll have my laptop open, I'll connect it to one of these 1080p monitors, and the menu bar is always like a weird like squished dimension, but for some reason it's just the menu bar. Like Mac's just in multiple monitors. So that's a great idea. I'm glad you moved that over. And as far as like waking it up from sleep and everything, it's been working well.
No problem.
This is just HDMI, right?
It's just HDMI,
which is great. Which is what that mini Mac is really intended to use for displays.
Right. So, the question I have for the community, I think, in this is, okay, so the ultra wide is the monitor I brought home from work for the pandemic. When I start going back to work this summer, I need to take it back. It's like, okay, it's going to go back with me. I'm using it primarily for work. I'm still using it for work. It's a studio PC for the podcast stuff that I do. By the way, it's a pretty good, podcasting on the Mac on the ultra wide is pretty great. Like it gets in that format because of all the way I have to line things out. That does work out pretty well for me. So I have a couple options when we think of ultrawide. We saw Dwayne's ultrawide. You missed it when Dwayne was here, but he has like a 105-inch ultrawide. It's not really that big, but it's not really that big. But it's pretty. I think 38 or 42 or something like that. It's just super wide. I don't think I need all of that. I currently have a 32-inch ultra wide, which is kind of fits nicely in here. It kind of works. So 32 to 34, maybe it's a 34. Yeah, it is 34. So it's 34 inches, 32 wide, 32 on the diagonal, or 34 on the diagonal. Sorry, I'm getting confused on that. So I could go a little bit wider. Mike, I started pricing kind of ultra wides, and man, the price point on these things was all over the place. So I found an AOC gaming monitor out at Office Depot, Office Max for $209.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
$209, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And then there's now it's the stand that sits on the stand. It's VESA mountable, but sits on the stand. Stand doesn't move. It tilts, but that's it. Then you can jump up kind of the next level. So it's like the $500 or $600 level for this.
And
right?
probably, I mean, for that difference, is it? I'm guessing it's FPS or your refresh rate. Sorry, on the monitor, and then really probably color accuracy as you start to move up in those panels. A lot more color accuracy. But for the stuff you're doing, you're not gaming, and yeah, you're editing video, but you're not doing any color correction to it. So I mean, really, that 209 mark is probably a great monitor.
Yeah, well, so then that next step though is $500 or $600 in there, right? And those are you're getting into the Dell, the HP monitors. Yeah. And then there's a whole nother class that's like 1,000, like the 900, 1,000. I almost pulled the trigger on the 209, and I was thinking, is this too cheap? Like, is it so? Chat room, I want you to chime in on this a little bit while we're talking about it. I'm a budget guy, and I'm really good at buying budget. And I've bought a lot of crap at the lowest price point, right? And I've actually made some of that crap. I was talking to, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Ken the other night on a messenger, and I was telling him I bought this 27-inch Westinghouse. Nobody knows of a Westinghouse monitor. Right? I bought this back in 2009. It's
probably a TV.
It could have been, right?
Yeah.
It struggles with some HDMI stuff. It works great with VGA. So it's got VGA and DVI. It's not even HDMI, right? So you have VGA, DVI. This thing, Mike, it had replaced two in 2009. It had replaced two regular monitors. What do we call those? CRTs?
Yeah.
Right? Glass. And I kept waiting for those things to go dim on me, and they never would. They just kept hanging on. And then I bought this thing 2009. So that's 10, 11 years ago now. I'm using it right now. It's part of the studio setup here, right? So you kind of think, and that was rock bottom price for that thing. I think I paid $219 in those days for it, which, most of the flat screen LCD monitors were going for $400 or $500 in those days. So budget, and I'll ask you while we're waiting for the chat room to kind of chime in on this thing. Mike, do you kind of go ultra cheap on this thing, or spend $300 or $400 more and at least get middle of the road?
No, for what you're doing, I think go cheap, just get the size. For me, I have never, until recently when I started PC gaming, I'm a perfect example because I need to do the same thing. So I actually have some questions for chat too. You guys have seen my setup. I have 3 monitors on the bottom and 1 up top. And this main one right in the middle I'm looking at right now is my gaming monitor. It's a nice monitor, a little bit bigger, high refresh rate. I think it's a 240 hertz monitor, not 4K, not 1440p, mainly because my graphics card wouldn't do 1440p very well. I would be the perfect candidate for an ultrawide, right? But what my point was, all these ones on the outside are perfectly fine for me. They're old. They're ViewSonic. They were actually from a company that was closing down, and they had all the same monitor for like $20 a piece. And I was like, that's perfect, because I do want the uniformity of all the monitors. And so I grabbed 3 of them for $60 total, and they are perfect. If I wasn't a gamer, they'd be fine. for what we do, right? We don't need that color accuracy. But what I want to know is I want to go ultra wide. I want to replace these two on the sides of my game monitor with an ultra wide. Now I will need to go high refresh rate because I do game on this thing. But my concern is I like to have a lot of screen real estate while I game. I typically have stuff up on these two monitors. So I have my nice gaming monitor. I have things up on the side. I play a lot of Tarkov and things like that where I have a map up or I'm Googling things. I usually have Discord over on this channel or on this screen because I'm usually talking to people if we're playing Valheim or things like that. So for you guys who run an ultra wide, and if you're a gamer, is it easy enough to have it only take up like essentially a 1080p portion of the panel and then have the outside still accessible while you're gaming? Since I haven't used one, I don't know how all that functions as far as, gaming performance. They always say, right, like full screen mode in the game is the best as far as performance, but obviously you wouldn't be running in full screen. So if you guys have any experience with that, let us know, because I too want to move to an ultra wide. And get rid of this monstrosity of a 4 monitor setup that I've got right in front of me just for one computer.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong though, Mike. Like I have the ultra wide here. I have a 24-inch monitor, and then I've got an old 3x2 monitor. That's all it does is my Slack. It's just my Slack monitor. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm moving applications to monitors. Like, I've got Slack on this one. I have Twitter on this one. I've got our Discord group on this one. So they're always up. And then you come over here and it's a remote desktop kind of machine. The mining that's going on that we're doing through Chia is on there. I've got monitoring kind of the storage space. And then you slide over and you get to work. And now the dual screens are over there.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. So I'm a big fan of just having it all out in front of me. I mean, I really like, I don't like when I put windows away, I forget about them.
Yeah.
I'm
the same way. I usually always have Discord up. I have up here is all my stocks during the day. So I use the Thinkorswim app from TD Ameritrade. Usually have that up there. And then these two monitors, I utilize both for this main PC, but they're also plugged into my work laptop since I work from home. So into my hub. So these switch over during the day to being my work monitors, which leaves me 2 that are still connected to my gaming PC. So I can usually still keep either stocks up there and like Spotify open or watching the mining or whatever I need to on those 2 other monitors.
Jim Shoemaker's calling me out. He says, buying budget, you bought a Mac. I actually saw point. Okay. But I didn't see buying the Mini as an expensive PC purchase, by the way.
It really wasn't, right? Because I mean, what was that, $699, or maybe a little bit more than that?
Well,
you upgraded a few things.
Yeah, it got close to $1,000 by the time
out the door.
I put the stuff into it. But I was getting a pretty good processor. I was getting a pretty dedicated unit. I was getting all solid state, and what I felt was a pretty good, that's kind of about what I'd spend on a Windows box, and I'm not sure I would have gotten.
Yeah, I agree. The Apple tax on the Mini itself is not bad.
Yeah,
the laptops still have that price tag on them for their performance, but
for sure.
But not much with the Mac Mini.
Well, we're gonna Sammy's coming home here in just a couple weeks to be home out of college for good. She's got a summer class. We're going to have to make a decision on a laptop for her, and we're actually going to kind of do this live. So that's going to be another discussion is, do we go Mac or do we go PC for her? And what do we buy? So that'll be a good conversation that we're going to have. Brian says, I've gone relatively cheap on my extra monitor. I have a 27-inch iMac and a 27-inch 1080p external monitor. Not great specs, but it's an HP. It cost me about $110. I don't, unless you're gaming hardcore and you can tell the difference, I have a hard time telling the difference between like a really good, maybe I've never had a really good monitor, but between a really good monitor and, a budget monitor. You know?
That's the exact reason why I have no 4K TVs in my home. Because once I buy one, all the rest of them are going to look like crap, and I'm going to have to, upgrade them all. But I have seen my brother-in-law's gaming monitor that he got recently. It's a 1440p. It's got, HDR. It's nice. The blacks are black. But it was funny when the first time we set it up, we were playing a game, and he was like, "This just doesn't even. It's almost too dark." And it's weird when you go from playing on a really bright, oversaturated screen, especially on a game like Call of Duty, to like true blacks with HDR, he's right. It's odd going to that high quality. Even going to 1440p sometimes it's interesting. But yeah, it can ruin you once you see a good one. I think that 209 one, as long as it's not terrible specs, as long as it's like at least 120 hertz, I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find it as we're talking on the Office Depot site. They've got a 29-incher that they're selling for 189. I don't know if I want to, I could go into the store. So this is where, it might, I guess I'd have to check and see, I bet those
Because
stores,
29 is not that big.
no. I want to go 32 for sure. Like
Yeah.
I
If
like
not
those.
bigger.
Yeah, I think once you get beyond 32, they get pretty, they start
Pricey.
getting really pricey.
How big is the one you're on now?
It's 32.
Okay.
And it's a Dell, so it retails the same model. Here, I'll give a model number out for those who are keeping track at home. It's a P3418HW. Like that actually means something. So again, P3418HW. I think those retail between $600 and $800, depending on where you buy it.
Okay.
It's a pretty standard man.
Probably a standard business.
It is
model,
well built.
right? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
It is well built. My initial decision was I was just going to buy the exact same one, and then I would take this with me back into work when I go in on a more regular basis. And then because it works so well, this is the thing, do you buy a $240 one and then think, what if it's? I guess I could send it back if it's not very good, right? Why wouldn't I take the risk and give it a try and see how it looks that way?
Yeah, and you'll have to check the specs on the Mac. Right now, if you want the best of the best with monitors anyway, you need to be using DisplayPort, right? DisplayPort has so much more bandwidth and capabilities that HDMI doesn't even have. And I don't know even what version of HDMI that Mac Mini is on. So when you go up in price, you might be the features, what they're charging for is all that, the extra refresh rate, but also like connectivity wise has a lot more display ports, things like that. Things that might not even, really make that much of a difference on the Mac Mini. Now I don't know how because Mac Mini is Thunderbolt, which is kind of like DisplayPort, but not really. So I don't know how all that works. But yeah, I think you'd actually be fine with cheaper one. Is this it?
Yeah, this is it. It's actually $20 more off. Let me close this window here. So that's it right there. It's currently $199. It was 209 the other night when I looked at it, and I have to make sure this is the right one. But 32-inch full HD LED curved. Let's see if we can get some specs on.
Now that's not an ultra wide because that's 1920 by 1080.
Oh, you're right. So this is the wrong one. Okay, this is the wrong one. I will keep looking. See, there you go. Like it's kind of crazy, Mike, is that it's been a while since I've been monitor shopping.
Yeah.
This is like I started getting into this. I'm like, holy crap! Like, there's a lot of there's just a lot to think about that's out there. So, Tony says his is 27-inch monitors connected via VGA. So is mine, Tony. And you know what? It's for what I use it for as a secondary monitor. VGA is just fine. Like it's, again, you kind of think
it's the job that I can edit my Word documents, view the web.
Jim says, question about the laptop purchase. Is it for a second laptop or similar where it might not really need to be new or used would be okay? No, it's going to be her main driver. She has to give back. Sammy has to give back her she has an HP from school that they kind of lease to them. They kind of rent to them for almost nothing. And although that's not really true, you should see her college bill. So it's worked in somehow.
Right.
It's been
they're making it up on the back end.
Oh my God, it's been Club Med. So no, I need to replace it. She's gonna do a lot of podcasting, writing. She'll probably need the Adobe suite. I mean, I'm gonna have to shell out for some of that stuff too. Some of that stuff's really good on a Mac, but she knows PC. So, I don't know. I'm going to have that discussion with her over kind of over the next couple weeks to see.
Is she an iPhone user?
Yes, but I think she's going to go Android.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she's going to go on to the Google Fi. So I don't know. We got some work to do. We'll talk about it over the next couple weeks. I'm not ready to buy a monitor or a Mac or a PC at this point. I want to look into it. Love to have some conversation in the hardware group and the Discord group. So if you want to join us over there, theaverageguy.tv/Discord, have some conversations. If you see a deal, post it there. I'm going to kind of wait and see kind of what pops up. Also throw some things around. If we do go PC for her, man, I have a ton of options. Like that is a whole nother, I spec'd out one at the very bottom. I can get her about $500 for a pretty decent laptop that would do most of what she needs to do, Mac, I'm at $1,400 probably,
right?
To go that route. So we'll weigh that out, jump in the Discord group and love to have some conversations. You see a deal, whatever. Let me know. Mike, we've been talking about this for a while and you got into Valheim. I don't know when the upgrade to Unraid came out. I mean, what was the move, this new game Valheim, like all the kids are playing it.
Yep.
What was the genesis of that?
I don't really know. I'm trying to remember where it all started, but essentially, I saw someone, I think, playing on Twitch. One of the streamers that I watch on Twitch quite regularly. Twitch is one of those things for me. Obviously, it just kind of stays up in the background. Like back in the day when your parents would like keep the TV on, or you'd keep the TV on like while you're cleaning. It's kind of background noise. That's what Twitch is for me. Like I can even have it on while I'm working. It doesn't bother me. It's just someone to kind of have on. And they were playing Valheim. And so for those of you who don't know, Valheim is a new PC game. It came out, so you can get it through Steam. And it is in very early beta. And think of it as, I call it like an adult version of Minecraft on steroids. And the reason I say that is because it's like, you're a Viking. It's Viking era. So you're a Viking. Updated graphics, right? It's not what do you call the Minecraft graphics, like 8-bit or whatever? I don't know. Like it's not that type of graphics. It's actually
they look good.
Yeah, it's good graphics, but essentially you are surviving in this world and building a base and all this stuff. You need to go out and harvest a lot of materials, collect the materials, make things, and build. So that's really all you're doing. So you're building like a really cool, and you keep getting access to new materials as you go further in the game. And it was a lot of fun. So I was watching, like, that kind of looks kind of interesting. And so I think it's cheap, right? I think it's like $20 on Steam, which is pretty cool. What I didn't realize, Jim, was this game has been breaking every single record for games out there. So I pulled up some stats, and you got to keep in mind, this was all the way back. I was trying to find something more recent. Maybe you guys can find something, but they were really tracking this because this came out, I think, at the end of January, early February. And so this article was written on February, I think 25th, and they had just crossed the 4 million copies sold within a few weeks. So within just a few weeks of this game coming out, and I think the big story is this is only from a handful of developers. I think it's like a group of like maybe 5 guys who developed this game and sold over 4 million copies. And then the weekend before this article was written, they had hit 500,000 concurrent players. And that puts Valheim in the top 5 most played games in the history of Steam. So a game in early beta that I don't think anyone, I don't think they really did any marketing. Maybe their marketing was to get streamers on board. And if they did, man, it worked. And I think what people love about this game is, for me as an adult, it's the perfect kind of mixture of fun, creative, a little challenging, but yet relaxing. Like it's just fun, relaxing to play this game. Whereas compared to Call of Duty, like, I want to rage quit Call of Duty all the time because like I'm not good anymore. Like these kids just play so much and I die all the time. And it's just frustrating because unless you can like play 10 hours of video games a day, you're not going to be good at Call of Duty. At least that's the way, that's how I justify how bad I am at that game. But for me, I think Valheim is just like this really creative, fun game. And it's one of those games too that I would be totally fine with my boys playing at whatever age they want to play. You know, it's relatively wholesome. Yeah, it's violence, it's Vikings killing monsters, right? But it's fun and really, really creative. So I kind of liked it. I never got into Minecraft personally. But now I kind of want to go try Minecraft because of how much I'm enjoying Valheim. But to continue on with the fun piece, what you mentioned about Unraid is the reason this caught more of my interest is because this, kind of like Minecraft, for those of you who have been into Minecraft and a bunch of other games, you can actually self-host your own server. So when you can play this game multiplayer with people normally, but I have to be in the game for someone else to be in the game, right? So if we have this world that we're building together, think of a world that you guys are both working on. You're building really cool villages and stuff like that. If that's hosted by me and I log off for the night, your buddies can't access it either. But you can do these hosted servers, and it's extremely easy to do, especially on a system like Unraid, right? If you have an always on box, I've actually even heard, I think Bust Out in our chat, he's been playing with me. I think he actually even runs it on his Synology and said it runs just fine on his Synology. So there is a great gentleman in the Discord community, or sorry, in the Unraid community, who has been building these Docker containers, and they're in the community app store. He goes by ICH777, and ICH777 has put out pretty much a Docker container in the community app store on Unraid for about every single game you can self-host that you can imagine. It's pretty cool. But it's just one simple Docker. You get it up and running, you port forward some ports, and you're up and running. And the great part about that is it's up 24/7, which means anyone can log in and out whenever they want. As long as that server is running, then you're good to go, because this game is a ton of fun to play with friends. I've been playing with my brother-in-law Parker. I got him into the game, and he's insanely good. He's been like, I told him yesterday, I've been like riding his coattails in this game, because he'll text me like, dude, we got wolves now, like we got a whole pack of wolves, and I'm like, dude, like I'm excited to log in, because every time there's all this work done, I didn't have to do anything. It's kind of nice. But a ton of fun to play with friends. So a long story short, though, what we did, so with this self-hosted server that I started, started playing with my brother-in-law, and then I put a post out there in our Discord for this community and kind of put an invite out for anyone to join. You can have up to 10 players concurrently. I don't know how well it runs. I think obviously they're in such early beta. I've heard about stability issues when you get too many people in. I think above 5, they start to say it can get a little wonky. But that being said, so I put the invite out there, and some people from the community have actually joined, and it's been a ton of fun. We've been having a lot of fun. So, Ryan, Bust Out, Joe, have all been over there with us, and then Parker. We've all been playing together, and we'll jump on. We'll get in the Discord. The great part about using Discord for chat is it's super easy. We'll all get in there, and we'll just have a good time every once in a while, every night. We'll kind of be talking while we're playing. We're gathering wood and stuff like that. It's such a fun community game to play. And Jim, I think you said that, I think your kids have were bit by the Valheim bug.
I'm seeing less of it. Jim Shoemaker in chat is making a good point. I think we're both pronouncing it wrong. I think this is how it's pronounced. Did you hear that?
No.
Oh, so shoot. That should have switched over. 1 second here. Maybe I don't have the loop back. I think it's Valheim.
It might be.
I think
Valheim. Okay.
If you go to how to pronounce it, at how to pronounce, let's see, what's the site here? I'll throw this in the chat room so you guys can see it. It's a good, I think it's a good exercise on it. I've been calling it, now it's going to take me forever because I've been calling it Valheim.
Same. I've been just saying it like that forever.
Right on. So Jim Shoemaker, good call. Valheim on that. Yeah. The kids have, my kids were playing it a lot. They're playing it. I think they're playing it less. I think it ran. I don't know if it ran its course. You know how these things kind of go, where you get addicted to it, then you're like, oh my God, I actually need to shower.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And that is this type of game.
Yeah. And then you play a little bit less of it, and then one day something happens, and you're back like, oh, we gotta build castles. Right.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I think people go through that same thing with games like Minecraft. And Joe was saying in chat that he actually has his 12-year-old playing with him. And that's the fun part is with these little self-hosted servers too. You can really play with your kids, friends, family, and it's like I said, it's the relaxing type of game. It's the game I play when I'm fed up with Call of Duty. want to turn it off, and I just want to go relax and build a cool house by the lake. I even joked with Hannah. She came down the other day. I'm like, come look at our lakeside villa I built. Like, we got a patio where we can sip our coffee. And she was just shaking her head. Like, I don't get it, but
Well, she's too good to you, Mike. Like
a little bit. Yes.
yeah,
That's an understatement.
you go off on these tangents, ham radio. Just is it ham or heme radio? I'm not.
Yeah. Heme radio. Immature radio.
And she just she's the stable one, I think, in the right.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the stable one. Just steady Eddie, just does what she's supposed to be doing. Mike's out there
doing who knows what.
Is there? Do you get any sense of upgrades coming for it? I mean, you say it's in beta, but
yeah, that's the fun part about it, is that being in such early beta, that when they had that much success, when you think of 4 million copies sold of this game within those first few weeks, I think they were definitely able to take that money and develop, and they're starting to come out with roadmaps of what they want to do. They kind of have a general roadmap for the next year. They have these stages where they're focusing on different parts of the world that they're going to be upgrading, right? Like new biomes, which are essentially areas of the map you can go to, weapons, animals, all that sort of stuff that they're going to be upgrading over the course of the next year, and beyond, hopefully. But just overall, a really cool game. I like to find these gems because I think I mentioned this last week, Jim. I wouldn't call myself a gamer, as in like I don't play a ton, right? Because with kids and everything, I maybe get a few hours here and there, but that's about it. This game, talk about Hannah giving me some leeway, and maybe it was just me staying up in the wee hours, but I think I had like 25 hours logged within the first week of playing this game, like a lot of time. And the time just kind of melts away. It's one of those games, you sit down at 9 p.m. and all of a sudden you look up, it's 2 a.m. You're like, oh my gosh, like where that time go? So what my hope is, the game is simple enough to run that I think more platforms, I think they could bring this to, I think a perfect, would be the Nintendo Switch. I think they could easily put it on the Nintendo Switch, have it there, bring it to Mac on the Steam side, Steam on Mac. I would love to play with my Mac counterparts. I was shocked. The graphics are good, but they're not like amazing. My brother-in-law tried to play it though on his older laptop, about a 5-year-old laptop, and he's like, it choked on it. It was not doing well. So it's actually more intensive than we think. Okay. So maybe things like optimization, right? Like a lot of these games are not fully optimized from the beginning. So things like that to make it run on different hardware seems to me like a game that you could turn down the graphics almost all the way and still have a decent experience. So it's just it's a good game. Okay. And I love hosting the server. I just think, I don't know why I think that's fun, but hosting it on Unraid, having it there.
Much data coming in and out on that?
No, not much at all. Okay. And it doesn't even use that much resources. So it uses 2 gigs of RAM. That's about the standard, a little bit above when people are in, but not much. Constant 2 gigs of RAM. And it flutters, on my i7 3770 that's in the box. It's using maybe 10% of that or less. Most of the time, a lot less. So it doesn't need much processing power at all. It's been a lot of fun.
When I was over checking out so while you were talking, I was trying to find this monitor. So I'm going to tie these two stories together. So this is where I'm going with this. So I head over to this.
How to pronounce Valheim?
Yeah, how to pronounce it right. There's you push this button, you can't hear it, but it's actually, if you don't know how to pronounce a word, these sites are pretty cool to get it done, right? So anyways, so what is staring me right in the eye? The AOC 34-inch monitor. The exact, okay. So I mean, this is a cookie not violation, but this is how, I was on.
It's even on Office Max.
On the Home Depot Office Max, or I'm on the Office Depot Office Max site. I'm sure it placed a cookie. Then when I went over there, I'm sure the cookie showed up and they tried to sell me. So here it is, except it's no longer available. I just was last night, Mike. I was just doing this last night. So, but let's take a look at this one really quick. So, it is okay. So, it's 2560 by 1080.
Yep.
Ultra wide, super curved, 1500R monitor. 75 hertz refresh rate. AMD FreeSync. That's pretty standard, right? For most monitors now. Are they doing FreeSync?
FreeSync or someone's gonna correct me in chat. There's an NVIDIA version of that too.
Okay. A one-time display port 1.2, two HDMI's, 1.4, and an audio line out in it, which I'd never use. I don't know. I mean, these look pretty basic, but probably do the job. I mean, it's out of stock at this point. Obviously, at $219 is a pretty good price, right?
Yeah, it is. For this one, you're not looking at a super high resolution there. It is ultra wide, but not crazy high resolution. Only 75 hertz refresh rate, right? So I think the reason this monitor is exactly intended for the casual user who just wants a lot of screen real estate, because you're not going to game on a 75. You're not going to game on the high end with 75 hertz refresh rate. That's pretty low. And then on the resolution, right, it's going to be great for doing everything that you and I would typically do, and work pretty well. I think this style of monitor is exactly probably what I'd be looking for if I wasn't gaming on it. Maybe I keep this monitor here for gaming and I put an ultra wide above it, and that would be kind of cool.
What's this monitor in front of you? What do you have in front of you?
That's a good question. I think it's a 27 inch.
Okay.
27 inch, only 1080p, but I think it's a 240, or maybe it's only 144. It might only be 144 hertz refresh rate. I can't remember which one I got. Which is enough for me. My GPU only gets me up typically to about 100, 110 FPS. G-Sync. Thank you, Tony. That's the other. Yeah, that's the NVIDIA side of the house.
NVIDIA side is G-Sync, right?
Yep.
And I have NVIDIA video cards, but it's coming off the Mac. So it's not, I don't think any of those, and I'm not gaming.
Right, you're not gaming. Those are really only used to keep those refresh rate and the FPS in line, so you don't get a lot of breaks or screen tearing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's essentially a lot better version of VSync.
Well, so at $219, okay, it's gone now. I'm sure I'll find something else at that price point. You pull the trigger, Mike?
I'd also be looking at bigger and seeing if I can find a similar, maybe for $100 more, a similar low spec, even bigger monitor.
But even wider, maybe like
I think
38.
So. I think so. Because I think on my 27, I think if 32 wouldn't be too much bigger. And I would definitely, whatever this is, I should take a tape measure and go all the way. I want something this big. My 3 monitors in front of me is about the real estate I would want. Now that's going to be insanely priced. Nothing is going to be this big. But
it would add a 38 would add 4 more inches in physical width here. And I could probably get away with an inch on this side and the other, the difference there.
Yeah.
Over on this side. But I think maybe
I guess that's true, because you're not trying to replace all your monitors.
No.
So maybe it's different. Because for me, I'd be wanting to replace, I want everything gone. I want one ultra wide, and that's what I want to focus on. Whereas, you have some other ones. So a slightly smaller ultra wide isn't that big of a deal because you still have those other monitors.
Yeah. Well, but go, $100 more. Your scenario. I don't know if this is true, but in your scenario, a 32 or 34 versus a 38, if it's $100 more, do you, or a 42 for $200 more, at what point? And I don't know. I'm going to need to, I love that idea for me. Okay. The whole premise is iMovie. I want to get the whole thing on there. Right. Do I need to? No, but I want to, right? I want to get the whole thing. So, thinking that through of I know, 34 is the sweet spot right now for ultra wides. That's just, there's a lot, I'm sure a lot of the screens are being made, and that's why the prices are reasonable. As you get a little bit larger, there's probably less screens being made at that size, so they're a little more costly. So Tony says Costco has 38-inch curved monitors. See, this is where it gets expensive pretty fast, right? 38-inch curved monitors for $1,599. I'm not sure I'm in for a $1,600 monitor. I might go up to $600. Maybe on that. Maybe cash in some Bitcoin. I'm just kidding. I would never buy a monitor with Bitcoin. Let's just be really clear about that.
And you said the one you're looking at is a 34?
34. Yeah, the one that I was the one. 34, which is 34 across, 32 inches wide.
Yeah. So when you're looking at Newegg, I guess once you jump up past, you're looking at $600. There's a
For
really
30.
cool 49-inch one for $689.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the brand on it?
Samsung.
Oh,
Yeah. Here,
$700.
I'll drop the link in chat.
Yeah, do that. $700 for it's a 50. It's a 50-inch.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure. What's the actual width on that thing? Like how wide?
That's a great question.
Does it give actual
Dimensions?
I'm going to say it's probably
Yeah.
45 inches wide, maybe.
It actually doesn't.
Okay.
Just says 49 inches. Wow, it's 144 hertz monitor. Interesting.
Brian says, "Stay tuned for the post show. Jim's making a $600 purchase tonight." Oh, that's very possible. That's very. I'm not gonna.
I just typed in, so I limited it down to 37.5 being the smallest, and I just sorted by lowest price just to see something on Newegg, right? And Newegg is going to be more expensive. I bet on Amazon it's going to be a lot of other ones.
Yeah. Well, it's got me
man,
thinking.
There are some really cool ones on here, though.
Brian, thanks for Brian posted some stuff in the Discord group too already. So thanks for doing that. Yeah, it's got me thinking. Like I almost pulled the trigger on this 219, and I was like, nope, I'm saving it. I'm gonna save it for the show. Like I'm going to talk about it. Don't do it now. I'm going to talk about it. And I always find as I talk about it with you guys, I just make better decisions when I've kind of thought it out. Now you can overthink in a group like ours, you can overthink this thing and everybody's got an opinion of what you should and shouldn't do. So that can also work against you a little bit. So Jim is reminding me, this is where it works against you a little bit. The Apple Pro 32-inch XDR, it's just $6,000, right? To be fair, it's probably a really good monitor. And yeah, hey, listen, Jim, if I'm going to spend $6,000, I'm buying that water cooler from Flow Water, and I'm putting that thing in my kitchen. I have a perfect spot for it in the kitchen. Like there's this area that it would perfectly fit in there. It was like it was made for it. I can't afford not to have one of those things in my house. Okay, we alluded to Unraid a little bit, so we'll keep working on this monitor thing. Did you upgrade 6.9? We're gonna get John. We're gonna get John from Unraid on here eventually. Been trying to work with those guys. I think they've been busy with the upgrade.
I can imagine. Yes.
So they have not been returning my emails, and that is perfectly fine. I am sure it's nuts. But did you make the upgrade? I've been holding off.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm on 6.9.1 now, which is actually the latest stable. They had a few updates that they made right after, and it's been good for me. Now it's interesting. I'm getting a lot of comments back. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter. For me, flawless, no issues, right? I know a few people though have had issues with the upgrade, so I'm not sure if 6.9.1 has fixed that for people. So, I'm still kind of hesitant to fully, if this is mission critical for you. Now it is for me, and I upgraded and it was fine. It's just because I like to live life on the edge. I'm a dangerous guy. So I upgraded and it went fine. So just be aware that there have been reports that it hasn't been completely stable. But I think for the most part, majority of people say it's going just fine. And I think really for most people, the need to upgrade on when we're talking about what are the things in 6.9 that people are really going to like. There are really two that stand out for me for the non really heavy geek users, right? If you're a heavy power user and there's a lot of back end support for things, I'm talking like, the ButterFS balance options and, things like passing parameters onto the modules, like things like that if you need it, you need it. So there are always those reasons to upgrade. The only other two reasons I think that's like a necessity of a reason to not wait until it's fully confirmed stable is the GPU driver support built into the system. So if you remember when John was on last time, he talked about how there's been a community developed version of Unraid, which was a whole separate install. It would install on top of itself. It was pretty seamless, but essentially it wasn't a fully supported version of Unraid that you would install in order to get your GPUs for use with Docker. And I had been running that. Now that is built in. So driver support is built in. If you run an NVIDIA graphics card, there's just one little plugin you need to get from community applications, but again, fully supported. You don't need to be installing a wholly different version of Unraid. And that for me has been fantastic. I love it because all of my Dockers right now, I have a 1060 in there that is actually mining with the T-Rex Docker. So there's a Docker in there that's mining crypto, and it's smart enough. The way it's working is it's also Plex is allowed to use it as well. And I have no issues with the Plex transcoding. And I've even had 4 Plex transcodes being used on that GPU. Plus, it's using all the extra stuff to mine, and it's been great. I haven't had any issues. So, I love having all the different Dockers be able to use it just natively, and it works. And I know that if I reach out to support, I'm not going to get that comment back of like, well, you're running an unsupported version of Unraid. So there's that. And then the other one that I think is big for people, and John mentioned this, is the ability to have multiple pools of data, right? To have those pools. Now, I will be completely honest with everyone right now that I don't know. There's probably a really good use case for me and how I use Unraid for pools. I haven't played with it though. I haven't seen a need to bifurcate my data any more than I already do. So if you guys are in chat or if you guys want to talk about it or send me a note, I would love to know some good use cases. You guys all know how I use Unraid, right? It's my Nextcloud, Bitwarden, Plex, now Valheim. That's really all that stuff. Yeah.
Valheim.
Now Valheim or Valheim.
Valheim.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Correction on how I'm saying it. Right.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that I'm using it for. So if there's a reason I should be using pools, great. But I think there were a lot of users that were really looking forward to pools. So that was also another upgrade in 6.9. The other stuff is, like I said, kind of the under the hood stuff that if you need it, you need it.
It's a good overview. And Joe said in the chat, he said he didn't know 6.9.1 was out. So good opportunity. Those always come out fast. That 0.1 release.
It did. It came out really fast.
Yeah, it comes out pretty fast. I'm holding off until we get John on. And I have no need to upgrade. I don't use it like you do. And so I'm just going to hold off, and we'll upgrade it during the show. When he comes on, we'll have some talk, have some good Unraid talk. So that show will be coming up hopefully here in the next, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. We need to get Mark back on. So Mark, if you're listening, contact me. I'll contact you, but get Mark Robson back on. We got to get the barbecue show kind of lined up, Mike. I mean, we've got a responsibility here to make sure that we talk grilling before the summer gets here. I mean, it's almost here.
I've already started. I've been using the smoker a lot lately. I did a pulled pork yesterday. Pulled that off the smoker yesterday morning. I've been a grilling fiend.
I made some steaks the other day where I just fired the thing up, got it super hot, and then almost turned it to nothing and just put the steaks on and let them sit. And I just measured that temperature just until it was just exactly the right thing, and just yanked them off. And it was so good. Oh, it was so good. So we'll have to get Mark back on here as well. One more thing, Mike, before we go to talk a little bit about Cloudflare, which always seems to be kind of, for me, like an enterprise caching kind of deal. You've been using it like for home use? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So this was interesting too. I just learned this. This was news to me that there is a free Cloudflare offering. So if you go to cloudflare.com, you sign up and you link a domain to it. They try to get you to pay, but at the bottom, there's actually, if you're not using the power features, there is a free version. And so I started to play around with this. And essentially the use case for using Cloudflare is if you have your own domain, and this is how I would use it. I'm sure there's a million use cases, but for a home user, if you have your own domain and you use that to map back, probably through a reverse proxy at home, to services at home, it's a great way to manage your DNS records for that domain. So in my example, I bought my domain through Hover. I had been doing all my DNS records in Hover, and that's what I was using. Well, Hover doesn't have any dynamic DNS capability into it. And for those of you who haven't experienced that before, for most of us home users, we have a dynamic IP address, WAN address, right? Your public IP address is constantly changing. And that can be an issue when you run services at home on your server that you want to access, right? Because that's constantly changing. So a dynamic DNS service is essentially a tiny little app you would run in your home, and it's constantly checking what's my IP, what's my IP. And when it changes, it's updating some record outside the house, and you can point to that record. So what I had been doing in the past is I had been using, there's a free service that almost every Unraid user out there probably started with at some point, which is DuckDNS. And DuckDNS is a free dynamic DNS plugin Docker container service that you can run. So, for example, I could have been, mike.duckdns.org, and that is constantly updated by this tiny little Docker container running an Unraid, which is great. So in the past, I had been pointing if you went to nextcloud.yourdomain.com, it would point back to that DuckDNS IP address, and you're back home. It's great, constantly updated, perfect. The issue with that is that a lot of security protocol, internet filtering applications, especially in the enterprise. So for example, when I was at work and I tried to get back to my security system or Nextcloud, or what drove me most nuts was Bitwarden, my password manager, it was blocked. And the reason it's blocked is because it's going through, I'm typing in one domain, but there's a CNAME record that's redirecting to a different domain. So if you think about it, I'm typing in nextcloud.yourdomain.com, but when it actually tries to resolve that, it gets sent out to my DuckDNS. And a lot of those, what I've learned, and I didn't know this, was a lot of the security applications in these enterprise environments, they block that. They don't like that. They think it's like a redirect, right? It's sending you somewhere that you don't intend to go. So I was getting fed up with that. And all of this kind of culminated in me finding out that Cloudflare has a free offering, number one. You can still have your domain purchased through Hover. All you do is change. It gives you the name servers that you're going to plug in over at your domain registrar. So if that's Hover, you just change the name servers. It gets kicked over to Hover, and you can manage. And then the nice thing is when you sign up for Cloudflare, it actually queries what all the current DNS records you have. And it says, hey, do you want to just set this up just like you had it? I'm like, yes. So it pulls in everything you already have set for that domain. It'll just slurp that right in. So you're starting from there. And then there is actually a few Docker containers in the community application store which run the Cloudflare dynamic DNS service. So essentially the same exact thing for DuckDNS, except for the fact that it's actually updating a subdomain record for my domain. So now dynamic.yourdomain.com is constantly updated. So it stays within the same domain. And if you guys are kind of following along, that doesn't trip the security things in the enterprise environment because you're staying within the same domain. It's not redirecting you out to a different domain. So a long, very roundabout answer, Jim, to say it's a really good way for managing DNS records, for having a dynamic DNS service that points to your own domain, all wrapped into this little free offering. And one additional thing I'll kind of give you guys a pointer is if you have something like a game server. I learned this when I was self-hosting Valheim, not Valheim. When I was hosting Valheim, is that there is this thing called an SRV record, and I had never used an SRV record. But if you do some Googling, so an SRV record, when you're looking at your DNS settings, essentially, I'm sure there's a lot of use cases for it, but it allows your domain to point to a specific port. If you just go to a certain domain, it's usually going to go to port 443, which is your HTTPS, or it's going to go to port 80 if it's HTTP, right? But you can actually specify with an SRV record, hey, when someone types in this domain, send them to this port of that IP address. So for a game server, because game servers I can't run through my reverse proxy, at least I don't think, I haven't tried that. You need to port forward the game port, right? So Valheim has a specific game port. I've port forwarded that. Well, now for everyone in the community who wants to play on my server, I can just give them one URL. They don't need to know about the port. They don't need to know my IP address, and they can just get in, and it just works. So a little trick, if you guys are running Minecraft servers, Valheim servers, any other game servers, look at that SRV record. It's really cool. Number one, you don't have to give out your IP address. Now people can still backtrace because an SRV record in Cloudflare cannot be proxied. So keep that in mind. So your IP address is still out there in the wild, but it makes it easy. It's an easy use case for it.
Joe says he thinks Unraid is offering this feature. And he says, yeah, this feature is in my new My Servers add-in. Did you look at that at all?
Yeah, I did. So My Servers is really cool. I didn't have a specific use case for it, but so here's what My Servers is. Essentially, My Servers is a new offering from Unraid where you can have a few things. You can essentially have remote access to certain parts of your Unraid box from out in the wild without having to type in your home IP address, right? And have a port forward set up. So if you're outside your LAN and you want to access your servers, or if you kind of want one central dashboard, if you manage multiple Unraid servers, if you run them for friends and family, or if you yourself have multiple, it's a way for them to kind of do the same sort of thing where registers with their service and you can get access to your server from a web browser. The other benefits are it will back up your flash drive. So we all know the flash drive in Unraid is where all your config is stored. It will do that automatic backup and store that backup up on their servers, along with what else are they putting up? There's one other thing that I'm trying to remember. Your registration key. Your registration keys are also stored up there. So if you lose track of your registration key, or if you're bad at making backups of your flash drive, you can now, store those up in the cloud so that you would always have access to them. The one issue you might run into, especially if you are a pfSense user, is, and they actually document it, they know it's kind of an issue. So if you go and look at the official wiki on the Unraid site for the My Servers, when you're doing the install, you may run into, and I'm trying to find the exact so I don't misrepresent what it is here real quick. So a lot of routers, including pfSense, have DNS rebinding protection. And that is a feature that essentially prevents your public DNS entries being mapped to a local LAN IP address. And so it's a security feature, but with that enabled, it kind of blocks what what Unraid needs to do to make this whole service work. So I had actually gone down the path of installing it. I got to that point, got that error, and I was like, well, there's not many times with my VPN that I have, I really don't need access. I don't manage multiple servers. So I didn't activate it yet. But yes, another very similar thing to what we were already talking about with the DNS entries through Cloudflare.
There you go. That sounds good. I
was that nerdy enough for everyone to finish off the show? I mean, that
was pretty good, man. That's a lot of info there. Let's stop talking about you and let's talk about me. Okay, so
so I bought a monitor, is what.
So I just bought this. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
This is the Newegg monitor. Mike was talking about this Samsung 49-inch curved QLED.
Yeah.
3840 by 1080. You mentioned HDMI display port. I too was trying to figure out how wide this thing was, but this thing is gigantic,
massive.
Holy crap!
This one might be big enough for me if I was going to replace all these three monitors.
Is this what you'd go with?
Well, I don't think this has the gaming specs I would need. That's the only problem. Unless I did what I was talking about, where I see, but I don't know. An ultra wide up high would just be weird to me. I would want the cleanliness of having one clean. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's perfect. Does this have a stand that goes up and down? That's some of these are fixed and you're like, oh, now they all have Visa mounts on the back and you could put it on a stand if you wanted to, but it's a refurb. It's $700. I don't know. Stick around in the post show. This may be this may be the one. I found the very first one, the AOC monitor that we were talking about for $219. I found it on Amazon and it's $300. So that $219 was a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that $219 is a good deal.
Why did I wait? This is why I don't wait on things.
These are the sacrifices you make for the show, Jim.
No, right on. No, we'll get it all figured out. Just a couple reminders as we exit stage left tonight. We'll stay around. You okay on time tonight, Mike?
Yeah,
okay.
Yep.
We'll do a little bit of post show. A couple reminders. No live show next week. I'll be down in Texas at a family reunion. Actually, it's my mother-in-law's 80th birthday, so we're going down for that, and that ought to be kind of fun. Texas is kind of open, so Mike, it'll be interesting. It'll be Sarah's vaccinated, I'm not, so we'll I don't know. I'm not that weird about it, just to be honest.
Right.
So we're headed down there. I'm sure we'll light a few candles and enjoy some bottled water for sure while we're down there. So some great stuff there. So No live show. Get caught up. Most of you are behind anyways. Geez. So get caught up. Get some things figured out. Join us there as well. Big thanks to our Patreon subscribers as well. I appreciate you guys each and every month providing what you do for that. And so, thanks. Just thanks for doing what you do. If you want to join the Discord group, jump over there, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Kind of a quiet week. Mike, one of the things I like about the group is it's not overwhelming. Like you don't have to be in it every second of every day to keep up with the conversations, right?
100% agree. Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you as well. Maybe you don't want to go to Discord, and that's okay. Leave us a message. So just go to homegadgetgeeks.com, bottom right-hand corner, there's a little microphone. Click it, and you got 30 seconds. That's it. It's not even a commitment. If you don't like it, stop it and do it over again. And we'd love to hear from you. We'll play it on the show and give you. Oh, I'm showing the show notes there. That's pretty cool. You guys want to see what the show notes look like? There you go. That's what they look like.
Inside baseball for you.
Yeah, there you go. And so leave us a message, homegadgetgeeks.com. The audio listeners they don't care that I was showing the show notes. So they're just like, whatever, Jim, shut up and keep going. TheAverageGuy.tv, both web and media hosting powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people you know and you trust. Amazon is keeping that guy busy, and I haven't heard from him in a while. So it's Christian. I need to get him back on Cyber Frontiers, but he is making a career. So he's doing a bang-up job over there at Amazon. Super proud of him. But you can get plans as little as $10 a month. Maple and WordPress optimized, super secure. MapleGrovePartners.com will get you there as well. And then don't forget, if you want to join us in the crypto world, the easiest way to get started is on Coinbase, theaverageguy.tv/Coinbase. Mike, you got any fun things coming up this spring or summer that you're looking? Fence got fixed.
I got a hockey tournament this weekend. I love hockey tournament weekends, so it's hockey all weekend.
Do you know Jeremy Hayden? Do you know that name? Okay. Omaha hockey guy. There can't be that many of you. So
you'd be surprised. There are a ton. I am shocked every time, as I join this community. It's bigger than you think. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you guys do it. I'd never walk again.
The first time you play, after that, it's like, yeah, you kind of feel it. And then after that, you kind of used to it. You love it. It's addicting.
Yeah, well, hockey is for the young. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv live. We'd love to have you join us live every week except next week. Don't come out. We won't be here. Well, that's okay. I'll remind you guys as well. And come out and enjoy it. Stay around for some post-show and see if Jim drops 7 bills on a new monitor. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.